Geraldine Zadkiel, the founder of Heart Connection, and I'm really excited to be here with you today to share my story and also to share with you transforming anxiety and how to take back your power. So 1 in 3 people suffer from anxiety in Australia. So look around you, 1 in 3 people are suffering from anxiety right now, whether they are showing it or not. So we all know what it's like when people ask you, are you okay? And we have those standard responses. Yes, I'm fine. Everything's going great. Thank you very much. All of these things. And I know what that's like because I was a master of pretending to be okay as well. What tended to happen is that I thought that everyone else had it together and everyone else was doing great and it was just me that was suffering. And that's what it feels like. It feels like it's only you that this is happening to you. So for me, I struggled with anxiety and depression since I could remember, which stems from some childhood trauma in a number of different forms. And I know that many of us have experienced childhood trauma in some form or another. So for me, it didn't matter what I did or how I tried to change it, it always came back to the same thing. I always had these constant negative thoughts, self-hatred, I didn't like myself very much, often I would have suicidal thoughts. The overthinking was exhausting. It used to keep me up in the middle of the night, insomnia, you name it. I was like completely surrounded by negative thoughts and trying to work things out on my conscious mind. During this time, because I needed to be safe, I left home when I was 15. I became quite successful in business and worked for a large corporate doing their corporate events nationally. And my boss used to say to me, he thought I was the happiest person he had met. So I was really great at pretending to be okay. But little did he know that I was dying inside. I would cry on my way to work and I would cry on my way home from work. On the weekends, often I would lock myself away, unable to be around people, or I would drink my way through my emotional pain, which is not the best coping strategy, but it's the only one that I had. And I'm sure we've all tried that at some point. This led to a string of destructive relationships, which created more drama, more stress, and more triggers. And it felt never ending. I used to say it felt like poison running through my veins and I was powerless to stop it. My neural pathways were hardwired to believe that the world was not safe to be in. And then around about age 35, I attended a massage retreat. Now this is a time in my life where I couldn't breathe. I would wake up each morning and I could hardly breathe. My shallow breathing was pretty much up to here. And I was so tired of suffering every day. I just didn't know where to find the answers. I had searched, I'd been to counselling, I had done many retreats, I had done as much as I could and I just couldn't find the answers. Many people had told me why I was like the way I was. I had fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of this, fear of that, and all things, but nobody actually told me how to change it. So I went on this massage retreat and I met a guy who was like a little monk. He was the calmest person I'd ever met. And I realised that day that if I didn't do something now, then I would die or I'd get very sick. So I called him and he was a kinesiologist. So the very next day I signed up to do kinesiology and went on this big journey of healing. And I realised that there was so much more to what was happening and then I was empowered to change the outcome. So I had no idea what was going to happen when I started kinesiology, and it took me on lots of different paths, and this is what's brought me here today. And what I was focused on was what are the practical tools that transform your anxiety, that change how you feel in the moment when you're triggered. And when you're triggered in the middle of the night and you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, what can you do in that moment? Or when you're out at a cocktail party and you have this overwhelming sense of fear come over you like a wave, what can you do in that moment? So I've been specialising in anxiety and depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome now for around 15 years. And I've been working with clients from various degrees of this, including people who suffer from other mental illnesses, bipolar and schizophrenia. Now, my passion is to provide you with practical tools that you can use every day to change how you feel, practical tools that you can use in the moment, like I mentioned. And there's so much information around you that it becomes overwhelming. So you can search on anxiety and get a list of things to do, okay? Like eat healthy, exercise, meditate. All of these things are great information. If you did all of these things, you'd be feeling fantastic. But the thing is that when you're actually in the moment of suffering from anxiety and stress and depression, these things are very overwhelming. Each one of those things create a huge commitment on your part. And what tends to happen is that you start off, you get triggered into your negative thoughts and stress again, and you're right back where you started from. And now you're beating yourself up because you couldn't stick to the list. So it is a never-ending process, and it's very difficult to know what to do in those moments. So I would like to share with you now what the missing link is. What I've developed over my own experience and also through working with many, many clients. So the missing link is working with the subconscious. We need to work with our subconscious to change the outcome because we've been trying to address anxiety on a conscious level. Our conscious mind is only there for us to short-term memory, planning, thinking. It's not there to come up with answers, and it's not there to change the emotional triggers that happen in your subconscious. So we need to start looking at anxiety in a different way and meeting it where it is activated. So like I said earlier, our neural pathways are hardwired between the age of 0 from when we're born to around about age 9. So if there's any type of trauma that's happened in that time, our neural pathways are developed to how we perceive the world, how we interact with the world, and how we feel about the world. So if there's any type of trauma that happens in that time, which most of us have experienced, then that changes how we feel and how we think. And to change those neural pathways, to change how we think, we need to meet it where it's activated in the subconscious. So it's time to work with your anxiety on a different level. And when we work direct with the physical body and our subconscious, we can change how we feel each day, and we can change it in the moment. It really only takes a few minutes. So are you ready? Because we're going to do it right now. So I'm going to invite you all now to drop your shoulders. So just take a deep breath in and drop your shoulders. And just do that again. Another deep breath in and drop your shoulders. When we drop our shoulders, we interrupt this physical stress response. Seems like a very simple thing to do, but it works. So the first thing that happens when we get triggered into stress and anxiety is our shoulders become tense. Our physical muscles tense up. So we want to drop our shoulders to interrupt that stress response. When we get activated into stress, did you know that it takes an hour for the body to return to normal? We have all those hormones that get activated. It takes an hour to return to normal. So that means that if you're triggered 4 or 5 times a day, or like me, probably constantly, maybe 10 to 20 times a day back then I was in a constant state of adrenal stress. So what we want to do is interrupt that process. As soon as we interrupt that process, we are able to calm our body. The next thing we need to do and focus on is how do we calm the nervous system, because it's the nervous system that is being activated. So we calm the nervous system by dropping our shoulders, breathing into our stomach, and now we want to say, I am safe. Right now, I am safe. Right now, I am just sitting on a chair. Many of you are just sitting on a chair, or whatever it is you're doing in that moment. So right now, I am safe. I am just sitting on this chair. That allows the nervous system to calm down. Once we interrupt this process, we can start to feel a little bit more calmer and a little bit more empowered. So if you can remember to do this at least 3 or 4 times a day, more times if you remember, this will change your life forever. The first thing that happens, like, maybe even if when we're driving to work, we notice that our mind has been thinking about something we're worried about for the day ahead, or perhaps something in the past, and we're already in a state of stress. So just drop your shoulders. Now, one of my clients, this is all she did. She came to me. She worked in a call center. She was taking lots of negative phone calls, abusive phone calls, and she was in a constant state of adrenal stress. So all I told her is to drop her shoulders at least as often as she can remember. She came back to me a month later and her life had changed dramatically. She still had some anxiety and some pain from her past, which we worked on with some other processes for self love and healthy boundaries. But ultimately, this one thing changed how she felt each day. So I would like to invite you to try this and see how you go. Notice the difference. Notice how you feel each day. So because of this and my passion, I have developed three online programs. Three online programs that provide you with practical tools that you can do each day. And these are tools that I know work because I do them every day myself, and I share them with my clients and have seen amazing results. So the first one is called Self-Empowerment to Feel Happy. And this program takes 1 hour to learn, includes videos and worksheets. And basically we go through how to calm the physical body, so what we've just done then with a little bit more detail. We also work through emotional triggers, so what happens when we get triggered into anger or those constant triggers that create those strong emotions, how to release that energy from your body, and also how to work with overthinking. So, when we wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and we can't get back to sleep. So these are the things that are in that first course, and it's really amazing. The second one is called Self-Love and Connection. So people used to always say to me that what you need to do, Jez, or Geraldine, is to love yourself more. Now that's a really great thing to say, and I think that we all should love ourselves more. But if we've never been taught how to do that, it's very difficult to know what that looks like. So in Self-Love and Connection, we're going to look at how to love ourselves and how to invite other people to love us in the way that we need it. So this is an amazing process where we can start giving to ourselves each day. And like I said, all of my courses, 1 hour to learn and only 10 minutes to do each day. So you can implement this into the busiest of days and receive the outcome that you need. Now, the last one is probably the most important one, because this is where all the destructive relationships that I experienced came about, is because I wasn't taught to have any healthy emotional boundaries when I was growing up. So therefore, when I got into a relationship, I didn't know how to have those healthy emotional boundaries. So in this short course, you're going to learn what is an emotional boundary, how to identify what your boundaries are, and how to communicate those in relationship so that you can feel safe and respected in any relationship. So that's in a relationship, an intimate relationship, could be a relationship with your family, your parents, your friends, sisters, brothers. The same concept applies to all relationships, and so that's a really amazing process that I really love to share with you, and one that's very close to my heart, because once we understand those emotional boundaries, it really does change the outcome. And finally, if you want something a little bit more intensive, I'm really passionate about the retreats that I do. So I am focused on men's health at the moment, but I also work with women and children. So the retreats that I do are in New South Wales, out in Riverwood Downs, and we spend 3 days together, and we actually go through this, and they're very transformational. So I have 2 retreats coming up in May and June, so check those out. And if you're available tomorrow, I'd love to share a lot of these concepts with you tomorrow in a workshop, and you can come and see me tomorrow in the workshop, and I'd love to share that with you then. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I can't wait to connect with you all a little bit later. So have a great day, and remember to drop your shoulders. Thank you.